In this video, we're going to demonstrate the basic steps required to install the Epoxy Plus Designer Metallic Epoxy Floor System. The first step would be to repair any cracks and holes using Quick Patch from Epoxy Plus. This is a two-part epoxy system that will repair any cracks or holes that you might have in the surface of the concrete. The second step would be to prepare the surface by means of mechanical grinding. Now, in this video, being used is our 30 grit diamond pucks that go on the bottom of a floor buffer, but there are other tools that can be rented or purchased at your local home improvement store. It's important to note that the cracks and holes are repaired prior to grinding the surface of the concrete, and then the patches are ground, as you can see happening in this video. This ensures a proper bond between the primer and the prepared surface of the concrete, including the patched areas. Here you can see the Epoxy Plus EPE 300 is being mixed. This is a 1.25 gallon kit. There's 1 gallon of part A to a quart of part B. This is going to be combined in an empty pail and then mixed with a drill and a mixing paddle. Here you can see that the primer is being mixed with a battery-operated drill and a mixing paddle. This is sufficient for mixing the primer. However, you would not mix the Designer Metallic Epoxy with a battery-operated drill, as the mixing process is too long and the battery would drain before you were mixed thoroughly. But for the primer, a battery-operated drill is sufficient. After combining parts A and B for 2 minutes, 1/2 gallon of cold water is now added to the mix and will be mixed with the drill and paddle for another 2 minutes. After the product is thoroughly mixed, it's now ready to be applied to the floor. The primer is poured out in small puddles on the floor and then will be back rolled using the appropriate nap roller, a small edge roller for the edges and walls, and then a 3/8 snap 18-inch roller will be used to roll out the surface in the main area of the floor. And we're looking for a thin, even coat with no puddles to be spread over the surface of the concrete. Now you will notice that the primer looks gray. However, this will turn black as it continues to dry on the surface of the floor. The primer will dry in typically 1 to 3 hours, but is temperature dependent. But this will dry to a black primed floor. While the installer is waiting on the primer to dry, they're going to go ahead and prepare the designer metallic epoxy by opening up the cans. It will reveal the B part inside the lid, and they will go ahead and start preparing the metallic pigments. As you can see, once the lid comes off, there is a can of B, and then sitting underneath that plastic cradle holding the can of B will be your 2 gallons of the A component. So altogether there's 2 gallons of A, 1 gallon of B in each 3-gallon kit. It is a 2-to-1 mix ratio, 2 parts A to 1 part B. So we'll go ahead and we will pre-mix all of our metallic pigment. We recommend 1 16-ounce jar of metallic pigment per 3-gallon kit of designer metallic epoxy. We recommend wearing a dust mask while doing this. As you can see, some particles will become airborne as you mix. And for this, we're going to be using an electric drill and a mixing paddle because we're going to spend about 10 minutes mixing each 3-gallon kit with the required amount of metallic pigment. We're going to thoroughly mix this just in the A part. We have not combined the B component with this. This is just the 2 gallons of the A component that we're mixing the metallic pigment with. Now that the primer has dried, we've gone ahead and mixed our first kit of designer metallic epoxy, and now it is being spread on the floor in our first 360 square foot section. So now we're going to go ahead and pour our second color, which is pearl. We're going to pour it in the same random fashion, pouring ribbons all over the first section of floor. Again, there's really no right or wrong way to do it. Our objective is to pour material on all parts of this first section of flooring. So now we're going to go ahead and start using a small roller and roll the edges, and also the rolling with the 18-inch roller can also begin as the person with the squeegee continues to spread the epoxy throughout the surface of the floor. Now you notice that in this particular video the installer is using a very large squeegee. It's a 36-inch squeegee. We normally don't recommend that. We recommend that you use a smaller squeegee like our 18-inch squeegees. It just allows you to spread it with a little bit more control. But in this case, this is a professional installer, and that was the size squeegee that he preferred to use. But the epoxy is being spread throughout the entire area, and you can see that the edge rolling has begun, and very shortly the rolling of the main area with the 18-inch roller will commence. So the installer will continue to use the 18-inch roller. You can use short strokes, long strokes, it really doesn't matter. But we're looking to roll the surface of the epoxy 2 to 3 times before moving on to the next section. For more information, you can visit our website at www.epoxyplus.com.